there's got to be a little bit of flexibility depending on what it is. Like, yes, I have a boundary that after a certain time, I'm not going to take a phone call. But if my father calls me because he needs to go to the hospital, I am going to pick up.
Right. It just
Right.
depends on the circumstance. I don't like go into deep analysis. I make pretty quick assessments and appraisals.
Welcome to Permission the Podcast. I'm Dr. T, and this is my sister,
Silvana, and we are two regular people talking about spirituality in our daily lives.
Each week, we're inviting you to the internal conversation. So let's get started.
With your permission. And we're back.
Welcome back to Permission the Podcast.
Today, we are talking about the boundaries. This episode, I used to have a really hard time with, actually not a hard time, but more like with some people. It was for me difficult to set boundaries. And it had to do with maybe family or maybe, if you're
I
in
was
a
just going to say, who are these people that you had a hard time with?
But for the most part, I'm great with boundaries, right?
Exactly.
But if it was someone I really care for, or, I would definitely say yes when I probably should have been saying no. So anyway, let's start talking about boundaries and how to set them, how to honor them, and how to just keep them flowing.
How to protect your
energy,
spiritual energy, just your regular ass energy. You're maintaining some kind of psychological hygiene. I feel like this is where we're going.
For sure. So how do you set them? Or at least, I feel like you got to start with, red flags. Or awareness, right? Being aware of how you feel, of how certain things make you feel. Like you're like, okay, something isn't right. Something isn't defining me the way who I am because I'm allowing something. And so when you have that awareness, then you go in and you're like, okay, what can I do to change this? Right? I don't know. What do you think?
Well, okay, so when you mentioned how do you set them, the first thing that I thought of is, what exactly are you protecting, right? Are you protecting yourself? Are you protecting someone else? Are you protecting your time? What is the focal point in which the boundary is around, right?
For me, it's my peace, my energy. So I start with that. I can't protect other people. That's for them to set their own boundaries. And by the way, if they don't have their own boundaries, other people will set them for them.
Exactly.
And so, yes. And
okay, so because do you know the way that I'm thinking about boundaries right now as we're talking about it, the image that I have is, if you have a fence and you want to put up the fence, you can put up the fence around the front of the house. You could put up the fence around the back of the house. You could put up fence around all of the house. And also you could put a fence just to separate land, right? Or you're putting a fence to, have cattle, or you're putting a fence around the dog, right? Like, so that's kind of the imagery that comes up when I'm talking about boundaries and what the focal point is. I feel like for me, my focus is always time and energy. It's generally time. And then energy, and then how I'm showing up, right? So do I have time for the thing that we're talking about? Is my energy going to be adding or useful? Will I be able to show up in the way that I want to show up? Meaning, am I going to be too tired even if I have time, right? Am I going to be too tired? Am I going to desire to be there? I feel like those are things that I initially think of when I'm placing a boundary. And it's interesting because one of my friends has recently said how
Wait,
I
which friend?
am red has recently said, "Oh, you are selfish." And I'm like, well, self-centered. And yes, thank you for noticing, because I thanked her for actually seeing me clearly. And she's like, no, don't thank me for that. That's not a good thing. And I was like, no, I'm able to see myself and you're able to see me clearly. Okay, moving on beyond that, she
And
said,
yeah,
that I take my time in actually saying yes, and I actually want to know what the function of the thing is, right?
right.
So if
Details.
someone asks me, hey, do you want to blank on this day at this time? I initially want to know, is there an occasion? Are we just hanging out? Do you want me to be there for a specific reason? Or is it connection and bonding? Is it this? Is it that? And then I can appropriately appreciate the bid for connection if I know what the connection is. And then I can decide if I can fully commit. And if I say yes, I will be there. I generally, unless something has happened to me, I get sick, my car breaks down or something like that. If I tell you I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there.
Or you're dead. Car broke down. Let's put
Right.
You're right. Yeah. I feel the same way. I mean, I don't look at it, okay, I don't dissect it like you, like, oh, my time. I think of it as like my peace, my energy, because my energy, if I'm putting time, that's my energy. And so in general, I just put in the balance, like, okay. And there's times that I might choose otherwise, it depends. It depends what it is. And also there's got to be a little bit of flexibility depending on what it is. Like, yes, I have a boundary that after a certain time, I'm not going to take a phone call. But if my father calls me because he needs to go to the hospital, I am going to pick up.
Right. It just
Right.
depends on the circumstance. I don't like go into deep analysis. I make pretty quick assessments and appraisals.
Yeah, you're like, Dad, why are you calling me? Can we talk about this tomorrow? Dad's gonna be like, what? No, but I mean, it's just, it depends, there's people that set boundaries that are rigid and they're more walls than boundaries or healthy boundaries. They're like walls to keep people out. And then there's people that have boundaries that are porous, that, they say stuff, and don't do anything. And so that's not a boundary. That's a suggestion. And so,
No, that's just talking. That's
yeah,
not a
and that's
boundary.
just
That's
like,
just like lip service.
and so setting boundaries is, you have to be aware, like, what are you doing? Are you setting a boundary or are you setting a rule too? Like, the difference between the two, it's important, right? A rule is like, in my car, you cannot use your phone, period. Right? That's a rule. I don't have that rule. I'm just saying.
That's a weird one. I was
Right, but
just gonna say, like, what?
I'm just saying, like, just any rule, right? And then there's stuff that, okay, if I'm giving you a ride and my kids are in the car, I'm like, I don't expect you to be on your phone the whole time and being your chauffeur. Have a conversation with me. I know you have to sometimes check your phone and stuff, but I expect to have a conversation with you. How's your day? How was school? Blah, blah, blah. One of I don't say big ones, but like having dinner and someone being on their phone. I'm like, what? No.
Yeah,
No,
I can't handle that.
I can't
No.
handle that. And so what happened the other day? Oh, I went to a salsa social and I had a friend. He was sitting at the bar. He was by himself. I was with girlfriends. We were, at the social. It was at a place. It was at a restaurant. And I saw him by himself and I'm like, you know what? He's by himself. Let me go. I'm going to get like a sparkling water and, talk to him for a little while. And so I got next to him and I started talking and he's talking and then I'm talking and then he starts his phone, and it wasn't like
Stop it.
for a little bit,
No.
like it was for enough time for
Yo.
me to say,
Oh,
okay, I'm going back with my girls. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. And he realized, I think, but,
that's
and it's not like I
crazy.
set that boundary with him and I told him, look, if you're going to be on your phone, I'm going to go. I didn't set it with him, but it is a boundary I have for myself. So I'm just going to do it.
But it's
Y-
also just like common sense.
Yeah. So whatever. But what I'm saying is there's boundaries that you're going to have to communicate and there's boundaries that you don't have to communicate, that you just, in order to protect your time, your energy, you're like, you know what? I'm
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, for sure. I
You don't
mean,
have to explain every time, every boundary you have. That's what I'm trying to say.
correct. And I would go as far as saying you probably don't need to be explicit about boundaries, about a lot of boundaries. You just kind of
Hmm.
say no.
Yeah.
Um, because I feel like a way of framing it is being able to stay in integrity with yourself. That's what the function of the boundary is, for you to kind of decide what flies for you and what doesn't. Right. So you're saying yes to something, which means you're saying no to something else. You're saying no to something so you can say yes to something else. And that example is a perfect example of how you don't have to be explicit about it, because
No.
it's just like, okay, you're doing something else. I'm just going to leave.
Well, because, right, if I'm just going to be standing next to you just to be
Like
standing
a
next to
fly on
you,
the wall.
then it doesn't matter, right? The effort, the effort to keep you company wasn't, it worked for a little bit. And when you're talking about not sharing or communicating all of your boundaries, yeah, you do have to communicate certain boundaries, especially when it comes to relationships, like a
For
partner,
sure.
a husband, a wife. So, and they can't be like it has to be granular almost. You can't just be like,
Right. Well,
ah,
certain relationships require that.
right.
And we can't go into mind reading, even though everyone wants mind reading. We can't do that.
Right. And then you can't just be like, you gotta state your boundaries clear. Like instead of saying something like, I don't want to argue anymore. What does that mean? About what? About everything? About every little thing? About like what is it that you're talking about? So you gotta get into detail. Or if you say something like, I want to be fit. That's
That's
okay.
so
What does
vague.
that mean to you? And how do you set a boundary that gets you there? Okay. Um, I'm going to work out this many hours a week. I'm, like come with a plan.
It has
It,
to be structured.
it has to
The
be
fence has to be measured out, right? Like
right.
you have to know where the fence is gonna go.
Right. And how many times a week and what are you going to do? And like, and then you also have to be aware of like, okay, especially if you like, say you have, I don't know, let's see, with chocolate, me,
Yo,
I
that
can,
addiction is strong.
I can eat a lot of chocolate, right? So there's times when I would just go on and days just a lot of chocolate, and
Binging?
then but I can have my days of binging, and now and so. And to the point that I would be like, okay, why am I doing this? Why am I like, I know I like chocolate, it's healthy, it's dark chocolate. I don't like it with a lot of sugar. I like it, the darker and the less sugary, the better for me. But you can't eat it like it's popcorn.
Like it's going out of style? Like,
Right? Like you run me. And so I have boundaries around that. Like I let myself eat chocolate when I'm what do you call it, ovulating. When around my period, I definitely eat chocolate and I don't judge myself on those
me too.
around that time.
Me too.
And the other times I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have chocolate. Okay, you're gonna have a square. That's it. Like you don't need more than that. You like if you want to taste the flavor or the healthy benefits, have a square, have 2 squares the most. Don't eat the whole bar. It's not a serving. Right? And
Yeah.
so just understanding, is this compulsion? Is this like, what is it? Like just, if you eating and overeating, so just sit with yourself and be like, okay, this
A,
is out of control.
a boundary with yourself.
And you can have, like, I don't eat after nothing after 8 o'clock, right? Sometimes 7 o'clock, but whatever. I don't eat food after a certain time. That's my boundary. However, when we talk about flexibility,
Mm-hmm.
and I've gone to yoga in the morning. I have danced 2 hours of salsa, and I didn't eat a proper dinner, early dinner, because of time or whatever. I make an exception, meaning, okay, I'm going to boil 2 eggs and I'm going to have them because I need something. So you also have to listen to your body. And also, if you're not giving your body the proper stuff, you might have to make it up after the time that you set for yourself, right?
That's so funny. How did we get here? Because I've been doing this fast. Have I told you about this?
No?
I've been doing a 20-hour fast and only eating in a 4-hour window.
Wow. And how are you doing with CrossFit? So let's start with, when is your 4-hour window?
3 to 7, generally.
3 to 7 p.m.?
Yeah.
How are you doing with the protein prior to CrossFit? Nothing.
Nothing. I got nothing.
And why are you doing it?
Because I got tired of eating so much. Like,
Okay.
I got tired figuring out what to feed myself. I got tired of like, okay, you're supposed to eat 3 meals. And then I listened to a podcast that was like, you're not supposed to eat 3 meals. So now I'm doing this.
Oh my God. You see, you said me, oh, you gotta eat before you work out. So I'm like, I go to 6 a.m. yoga and I'm like, I have to eat something. Teresa sent me this podcast.
I know. I have to show you this other podcast. But
Okay, so who's
like
right?
life is an experiment.
Who's
So
right?
whatever. Basically, for women,
Being a woman. Okay.
for women, I think basically it's whatever feels right is what the consensus is every time. Every time there's something about, oh, you should do this, you should do that. Every time the consensus is just do the thing that feels right for your body. and I'm tired of eating all
Okay,
day.
just so you know, because I wouldn't eat before working out until you gave me this podcast that talked about women and what women really need prior to even getting up, like, and so I remember that when I started eating something prior to my routines, I would finish them stronger. Meaning that I was like, wow, like I got through this without feeling like, oh, I'm lightheaded. Like a certain, like I felt like, because I would have at times moments, 6 a.m. yoga, where everything starts to turn a little pink. And I'm like, okay, you need to stop, take a break, drink some water, compose yourself, and then go back. And I felt like when I started eating something prior to yoga, I had less moments like that.
Less moments like you were gonna pass
Not
out.
pass out, but you were like, start like, it's 100 and whatever, 5 degrees. And so you're like sweating a lot. And if you didn't take enough water, you will feel at times, okay. That doesn't happen all the time to me, but sometimes. But I felt like eating did help with just me finishing like boom, 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 no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're in this 20-hour thing, eating 4 hours.
Yeah.
And how are you hydrating? Or like electrolytes and the stuff?
Oh, I'm drinking lots of water. I mean,
With nothing? With
no, with nothing. What do
no
you mean?
electrolytes?
No. Why?
Oh, I don't
No.
know. Well, I feel like with high yoga, I need more than just water. If I'm gonna have 20 hours without eating, I'm not gonna do it. I do have my new routine I do, which I have, I when I wake up, I wash my mouth with salt water to clean my mouth rather than drinking water and drinking everything that's marinating in my mouth for overnight. I got this from a, what do you call it? Amish lady.
Wow, that's interesting. I've
So,
never heard of that.
so
Okay, go
as you
into that.
sleep, as you sleep, I know this is all about boundaries. This is so off topic, but whatever.
So
As you
left
sleep,
field.
as you
Okay.
sleep, in your mouth, all of this stuff, well, I call it the stuff that's marinating in your mouth. But you have all of these, I don't know, bacteria, whatever that grows through the night. And if you drink water first thing in the morning, you're swallowing that. And so this Amish lady says, this is what we do. We clean with salt, hot water and salt and gargle, clean your mouth. And then after that, I do rinse it with just regular water. And then I take a spoonful of olive oil. And then I go to my hot yoga. I don't eat now. I like with that spoon of olive oil, I'm good. And
Oh,
then I
check
eat
you out.
after my yoga.
Wait, so what's the olive oil doing?
Hey, olive oil is an anti-inflammatory. It also, when you take in olive oil or an oil, and I started mixing my olive oil with oregano oil,
Yo,
which
that sounds
is,
terrible.
it's awful, but it's supposed to cleanse your gut from like, what do you call it? Parasites and stuff. So I'm
That
trying it.
sounds disgusting.
I started today, actually. Today was the first time I did the oregano thing, and it was gross.
Woof.
Yeah. Anyway, back to boundaries.
Okay. So hard pivot or soft pivot because spiritual energy. And we talked like for 2 seconds about what this episode was going to be about. You said boundaries, protecting your energy. What exactly do you consider your energy, spiritual energy, your essence, or whatever?
My energy. So my energy is, it's my what I consider it to be is everything, really. I consider it to be my, what do you call it? My, what do you call it? My, I don't want to say value, but also if you think of it, yeah, my worth. And so when I'm placing,
Value, not
it's my
values.
currency, right? It's my
Okay.
currency, right?
Okay.
So whenever I'm putting my thoughts of, or my time or anything, I'm giving you part of me, right?
Right.
And so think of it as a battery.
So like depletion.
So after, so if depending on what it is, I'm using up my energy, and so is it going to be worth it for me? Is it going to give me the three P's, right? What was it?
Peace,
Peace, profit, gain,
profit, and
and purpose.
purpose. I was going to
So
say protection, purpose.
yeah, purpose. And so is it towards that? Am I keeping my peace? Am I gaining anything? It doesn't have to be money. It has to be, happiness, whatever. What am I gaining from this? And the other one would be, is it towards my purpose and what I, love doing?
Okay, so what I know you always mention low vibes, low vibration, low vibrational energy, and yada yada.
You mean from other people or from spaces?
Yeah, whatever. What does it mean when you say that? Like when you say, because I always hear you talking about it from a reference point of I'm trying to like protect myself from low energy or like uh, I want to stay high energy, high vibration
And
or whatever.
this is decisions I have to make, right? So spending time with mom, I love her dearly.
My
I
mom.
love mom, but she's a worry word. The only thing she talks about is the news.
My
I kind of
mom.
have set
Her favorite topic
boundaries.
is Trump.
I have set boundaries with her, like, okay, when we're eating, can we not talk
No
about
Trump talk?
no talking about
Is this a Trump
current
free
affairs.
zone?
Yeah, like like we're eating food, positive talk only. And so I would remind her, and I will sometimes have to remind her several times. Like, Mom, after dinner, maybe. And sometimes I have like, okay, if you give me one bad news, you have to give me two good news, and that's hard for her.
Very hard.
And
That's very
so
hard for her.
and so it's at times I have to make a decision. Do I have the energy to hang out with my mom, even when we go for a walk? I try to focus on like, this is good for her. This is good for her health. I talk about topics that have nothing to do with the news and the state of affairs. Not easily done with her.
Yeah, really
And
hard.
so, and so I try to focus. Okay, look at the sun, look at the sky. And at times I'm like, okay, yeah, I know, because that's what she needs, right? But it has nothing to do with me. Like, I'm not agreeing with it. I'm not subscribing to it. But at times I'm like, do I have the energy, or does can my energy handle my mom today for a walk? I
Yeah,
have to ask myself that question.
that's real. That's honest.
And so I'm like, okay, today I can't. So today, for instance, it's beautiful out. It's gonna be up to 70 or something. And I told Dad, you guys should go for a walk. I didn't say, I'm going to take you guys for a walk, because today, no.
Today is a no-go.
Today is
Okay.
a no-go. And so that's what I mean. And I don't want to say that my mom is like this dark little vibrating thing.
She can be a little dark cloud.
And there's people like that. And so you make decisions. Like, even say you have I have a friend, I'm like, her relationship with her parents is a lot. I'm like, it's okay to say no. it's okay that if they call you and you don't have that energy to go through this phone call because you know what it's going to be like, it's okay for you to say, no, I'm not going to answer right now. I'll call you back in 3 hours when I'm ready.
I mean, also, you don't want to help people that aren't asking for help, right?
That's that's a boundary I have now.
A new boundary.
That's definitely no. I mean, I don't want to say it's new, but as I'm going in this path and understanding that it, it's whatever you're putting out, the information you're putting out, it's just information to them. What they do with it or whatever, that's on them, right? And also, why are you going to put out information if there's no asking for it?
Also, there's no receptivity.
Yeah.
Like, you're putting something out there to not actually be received by anything. I have done limits on what I talk about. Have you done that?
Talk to me more about it.
So if someone just kind of goes on and on and on about the same thing, whether it's like, oh, this one thing at work, and it's like the same one thing at work, like you only get so much listening credits with me.
Yeah,
where you can talk to me about this topic for X amount of time. You know how Spotify, I don't know if you know this, Spotify only lets you listen to audiobooks for like 15 hours
which you
a
use
month.
up in like 3 days.
Yeah. And I check, I go into my account. It's like today, I looked at it today, and I have 5 days until I can start listening to Sextinction, which is
Wow.
like the thing that I'm
Currently.
wanting to listen to next. But a good placeholder is Audible, and I use the library app Libby, and now I'm listening to a book by James Sexton called If You're in My Office, It's Too Late. He's a divorce attorney, and he's a really good storyteller. I love
If you're
it.
in my office, it's too late.
It's too late, yeah. And anyway, so you only get this many, you only get 15 hours. That
Yeah.
is so much time.
Right.
Like, I only have a threshold of, I don't know how much time. If you want to nanner on about X topic and we don't move to Y or A or B or D or J, this conversation's over. We're ending this conversation if you can't figure out how to diversify what you're talking about.
Depends. Like, there's people that process in circles, right? Like, just over and over and over. And the boy's dad is like that. So John would, process, repeat. And at times I'm like, I can't do this. Like, we've done this 3 times already. And he's like, I know I'm repeating. Okay, so you know.
You already know.
And so, but it's the way he processes things. And some people have different way of doing things. Like, next circle.
Next topic, please. The only time I have bandwidth for that is in therapy. That's the only time.
And I assume you have
I have endless patience for that
process.
Yeah.
And
if you want to talk about the same thing for 100 years to come, I have the patience to hold space for that. It's just, I don't know how helpful it is, and we'll talk about that. And I'll point out that you recognized that you're talking about this, and you were talking about it last week, and you were talking about it the week before. I don't have a problem with that in therapy, like when I'm the therapist. Once you enter my actual personal life and you're
Mm,
and you're fixated on this one thing, we're not doing that.
yeah,
Whatever the thing is, you go and you take it to someone else. And I haven't really thought about that that boundary, but I do have that boundary. I don't actually like use it often because I feel like people generally just know not to go on and on about the same thing. I mean, or at least they know not to go on and on about the same thing with me in my personal life. And maybe it's because they do know that I'm a therapist that they're like, oh, I can't just like keep talking about the same thing or something. But I've not really had to kind of use that boundary much or often.
what about, let's talk about, like boundaries. Like, there's people that try to set boundaries aggressively, and or mildly, which means they just seem more like suggestions. Or you have to be assertive, you have to be granular at times. Like, uh, example. I have my circle of women. I know it's cold in that room. I'm just using this as an example. Nobody's really small. Once somebody said something. I normally turn the heat up at least an hour or so prior to the circle. And say somebody comes and says something like, oh, it would be nice if you turn up the heat a little more. That would be mild, which means I would take it as like, oh, okay, that would be nice, but I'm not doing it. Right? It'd be nice. Yeah, no. And then there's the aggressive one that would be like, every time we come to the circle, it's fucking cold in here. Get your shit together, turn the heat up, that's aggressive.
That is very aggressive.
And then there will be something, hey, it's quite cold in here. Can we agree on like maybe turn the heat up to, what do you turn it on to 70? Okay, can you turn it up to 75 an hour prior to the thing because it does feel a little cold, or maybe put some blankets out. Like just come to this I don't know,
Agreement.
agreement,
Talking.
talking, communicating your needs, and yeah, because I don't answer to aggression.
Well, you know what's
They'll be like, yeah,
interesting?
fuck you too.
You know what's interesting is that I don't ever raise my voice. Like
Yeah.
when it's a serious thing,
Mm-hmm.
when we're talking about, okay, like, hey, you're clearly upset and I'm noticing it, and now we're engaged in a conversation where you're upset or something has happened. I don't ever raise my voice. The only time I raise my voice is when I'm excited and happy, and it's a happy story.
Or you
And then
laugh.
I'm loud. But when it's a serious conversation where someone has come up to me and said, hey, I didn't like this or something like that, I always keep my voice at a monotone level, or like just like calming. Okay, what happened? When did it happen? What was going on? How how could we change it for the next time? And that just brings everything down. That's so funny. I even have an example. I don't know if I've told you this example actually. I use this in therapy as like a real example that has happened to me. I moved out to California for grad school. I took my car, yada, 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 4 years later.
Yeah.
I got a ticket, and it was for my registration that
Mm.
I never updated when I moved to California.
Okay.
So I called Connecticut and I said, I called the Connecticut DMV and I said, hey, so I just recently got this ticket. I've been out in California for grad school. I moved away 4 years ago. And I'm wondering, like, what I should do. Oh, what do you mean? You moved out there 4 years ago? Why would you not get it registered there? What were you doing? You can't call it. And I was like,
Oh, so the
and then
stereotype is right.
she like blew everything out of control and out of the water. And, she was going on and on and on, right? And I was thinking, I really wonder what has happened in this woman's life today that she's responding. Because I asked her just point, like,
Give me
that's how
some
I asked
information.
her,
Right. Give me information. What do I need to do? What you should have done is irrelevant.
Right. So she's going on, and I'm not stopping her because I'm a curious person and I'm intrigued. And I'm thinking, this person works at the Connecticut DMV. I don't know what her life has been like today. And I don't know what she's come across or whatever. And I don't know what kind of people live in Connecticut and go to the DMV.
Stop.
So she stops like ranting. And then I said, oh, okay, so I can't update my registration with you for Connecticut, and I should probably do it here. And she said, yes. And I said, okay.
Nice.
Great. Thanks. And it just like, right? Yeah. Because I don't care.
That's hilarious. Right. Instead of be like, why are you being so rude? Right. That would be reacting, and that would be wasting depleting your energy light.
Like, imagine like, hey, listen, lady. Like, what? No.
What side of the bed did you wake up today?
I don't know who you've been talking to in Connecticut. But here in California,
where the cows are happy, where happy cows come from. Remember that commercial? Happy. Anyway.
No. So protecting my energy also means not responding or not reacting. And then that conversation ended. Like the conversation, she was just kind of like, okay.
That's your stuff. So this? Okay, great. That's awesome.
I use that example in therapy a lot and often and all the time. And I'm actually grateful that she gave me the example to use in therapy.
Yeah. I'm thinking that another really important thing for boundaries would be consistency, right? You set a boundary, you got to respect it. So if you don't respect your own boundary, you can't expect other people to respect it for you. Also, if you don't set any boundaries, other people will set them for you. And so just being consistent, and all I can think about was the boys too, like, when they were little and they were just going to, like, Aiden especially, he would go into tantrums and be like, listen, if you're going to act this way, we're leaving. We're going to leave. And that meant at times sacrificing my time with friends because it was a friend's party. That meant at times I would leave a carriage full of food I needed from the supermarket. If you're going to act like a troll, we're out of here.
Troll.
So, and so just being consistent. So that's really important, not just for parents, but for anything and anyone. but that doesn't mean you have to be that there's rigid, right? There's going to be times where you're gonna have to adapt and make exceptions, right? And that will all have to be with communication. Say Tere says to me, "Hey, I have a book. I'm gonna launch my book. I don't know, November of 2026. Up to that
Hey,
time,
okay.
up to that time, I am gonna be this, or leading up to that date, I'm not gonna have time to record the thing, but afterwards, I'm gonna be back to normal. I'm gonna be back to me. Schedule. We'll go back. Like just communicating that, and her stress level towards leading up to that might be whatever, like,
Yeah.
and so if I call her and she's all stressed out, or she's like, oh my God, I don't know what to do, and then she says something really stupid to me, I'm gonna be like, you know what, she's going through stress, man. She's like, she's working on this, but there is a
We would still
boundary.
have a conversation about it. You
Right,
would
but
still
there
say,
there will
like, you
be.
can't talk to me like that.
Right, like there will be a boundary, but then I will be understanding, and I will be like, okay, I'll give you a pass. I'll give you permission to be an asshole until November 26th. 6. But
Now we have it on recording. I wonder what's going to happen November 25th, 2026.
2026. What I'm saying is, if you have a partner or somebody that, they're in a deadline, or they're going to be stressed out and they're not going to be their regular selves and whatnot, then, there's that, okay, they're putting it on the table, and just like, don't expect me, like, you'll have my divine attention after this day. And then you have the expectation, and it'll be also a boundary for that other person to know, like, okay, after this date, it's on. It's back to normal.
Yeah.
And just having that expectation and knowing that you will fulfill that. So communication, man, it's like just communicating your needs, right? In the proper way, meaning not aggressive, not mildly, like, oh, you could be nice. Could, shoulda, coulda, would've. No.
Well, that reminds me, because we record on Mondays. There was this one time where you asked, "Hey, I really want to go to yoga at noon," and we record at noon.
No, 1. No,
1?
we had the
Oh,
phone call at
no.
noon. Yeah.
We were doing something we were recording at 1, and you
Yeah.
wanted to go to yoga at noon.
And I wanted to shower, not look like a, sweaty animal.
And we just like switched it.
Yeah.
We pushed the recording down, and that happened on the same day. I did have a moment, I will say, that I was like,
Well, and also, if I know you block your day, which
I
means
do.
you have patients that cannot make an appointment at that time. So if you have a patient, if you're all booked up with patients, then I will be like, okay, fine, I can go the next time. It was a new yoga class I wanted to try, which is amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I feel like the flexibility comes in with that. I mean, part of it too is really holding the integrity of the boundary for yourself, because the boundary is for the self, right? So oftentimes people think, oh, I'm placing this boundary and it's for the other person. It's never for the other person. It's never about the other person. And the moment that someone says, because I get this a lot with patients in therapy, is, well, I told them that they had to blank, and I was like, okay, we're off at the wrong foot here, because they don't have to do anything,
That
and
you
especially
said.
blank, right?
Yeah.
And so the boundary is more of, can you trust yourself to uphold your own word for yourself, even when things push back on it, because the nature of it is that things will push back on it.
People will push back, especially if they grew up where there's no boundaries, right? If people have no idea what boundaries are, because in their household there were no any healthy boundaries, and they were more like, okay, I need to survive. I'm creating these walls and for protection, for survival. Then they're not gonna understand boundaries the way you do, probably, or the way you are where you are. They will test them. They will guilt trip you. You don't love me anymore. You're mean. Like all these rules. Or they'll ghost you, which is also weaponizing, silence and whatnot. And so at that point, it is you that is gonna be like, okay, bye. Like it is like, how do you protect your energy? Also understanding what's yours and what's theirs. Understanding that separation, that the way they're treating you is because of whatever happened in their life. And, also understanding the difference between being empathetic and being compassionate. Meaning an empath will absorb rather than, okay, I'm being compassionate. I know your deal. I know your situation. I feel, you had a tough one. Still not mine, that's yours, right? So knowing that separation, having compassion, but not absorbing what doesn't belong to you.
Okay, so 2 things. One is guilt, because I feel like a lot of times guilt comes and
For tough ones.
interferes
Yeah, especially
with the
family,
boundary.
right? Like family. Even dad, have dad ever done that to you? Like, I don't know.
Dad tries to do things.
How many more years do you think I have left? You should come visit me.
You know what would be nice? If you came to visit. If you came to Connecticut and I turn around and I say, that would be nice, Father. Yeah. And I tell him, what else would be nice? If my father would come to visit me in New York City. That's what I tell him.
You can't complain in April for his birthday.
His birthday, big birthday celebration.
85. Whoop, whoop.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised. I'm shocked. I'm astonished and
everything.
And that everyone came to me.
Yeah. And how many were we? Let's see.
15. I know because I had to count.
Okay, so we were 15 at this awesome terrace. And what floor is that terrace? 20 what?
I think 26 or something.
25,
26.
Anyway.
No.
Those my kids are into that stuff. Anyway, we were there. We all came, and we came on time.
Mm-hmm. You did. That was, well, on time. Yeah.
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 We had a lovely afternoon. The weather was amazing. It wasn't windy. It was sunny. It was warm.
It was perfect. Literally, we could not have asked for anything better. But my father does try to do
the emotional, what do you call it? Emotional guilt trip.
The manipulation thing. And I'm just like, oh, Father. That's nice.
That doesn't work with me.
No, not at all. Listen, I love my parents and I would love to see them more. And I'm being a lot more conscious about that. And
as they get older, especially.
Yes, as they get older, especially, because part of what I'm assessing is what I want to do. And part of what I'm assessing is how where I'm placing my time and energy. And yeah, that's definitely something that I've been really focusing my attention of how much do I want to spend in relationships, especially lately. And I would like to spend more time with relationships, and that's what I've been trying to build with my CrossFit community, with my friends in New York, and also with my family, just spending more time and being conscious of it. So the first thing was guilt. The second thing was empathy. This is interesting. I just happened upon this.
What? You
Because
you
you were
have empathy?
right. No. Yeah, exactly. So I just happened upon this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to a podcast about how no one needs more empathy, and empathy is the reason we're not doing well. And empathy creates well, the speaker was a bit harsh with this, but like empathy creates psychopaths.
I don't know if I agree, but okay, go ahead. I don't subscribe to that
Here's
because I'm an
here's
empath. So
here's what was interesting about that. And you triggered it because you said something about compassion and empathy. Anyway, so here's what's interesting about that is he was talking about how people that empathize with certain people are generally empathizing with one side. And there's this strong sense of alignment with one side over the other. So I think what the example was, I'm pretty certain the example was Luigi?
Luigi, the Saint Luigi,
The
the new
dude
saint, the
that
new saint. Oh my God! I saw a candle. I went to a store in New York, and they had those saint candles. So they had a candle with his face, and he has the halo,
stop
and he's
it.
holding a heart.
So
Saint Luigi. And I don't remember his last name, but I know who you're talking about. The
that's the
dude
dude
that
that shot
murdered the CEO
whoever, right?
and
Right.
what is it? Insurance company or something. Yeah.
Sure. So alignment with a group can lead to like a disalignment with the other group to such an extreme that it leads to extreme behaviors is what the speaker was saying.
This is just duality to me.
Is what the speaker was saying. And the speaker was saying, well, if someone empathizes so strongly with one person, let's say a victim, then it kind of villainizes the other side. And I'm like, this is why I'm not empathetic.
I'm an empath to the point that with certain people and certain connections, to the point that if I had a friend, right, she had a cold, but her ears were hurting. And at one point, we went to Turkey together, my friend Nati, and her ears were hurting, and we're sharing a bed. We were sharing a room. There was 3 of us, and there was 2 beds, so I shared a bed with her. And she was sick, and at one point, her ear pain came to me, and I'm like, "Ooh, that's Nati's." And as soon as I called it who it was that I knew wasn't mine, then it went away. But I can feel certain things, like if someone's sad. At the same time, if you're happy, I can feel the happiness. I can feel all of these things. Now, the thing comes when you understand what's yours and what's not yours. Like, I know that earache wasn't mine. You know what I mean? So to me, understanding that, and that's why I talk about also protecting energy. I don't not just with boundaries, but I do have a way that where I can do energetic, cut my energy from people or places. And so for that reason.
I feel like what you're talking about is different though. Like you having a sensation of someone else.
Yeah, but at the same time, if like say Paola would start crying, I would start crying not knowing why she's crying. And so that and then I'm like, okay, why are we crying? Talk to me. But at the same time I know it's not mine. You know what I mean? Just understanding that.
Well, it's more based on empathy for one side.
You agreeing.
Like one side of an argument, right? And that makes the other side the bad side or one side the good side or whatever.
Or just always knowing that you only got half of the coin, meaning there is the other half that you don't know about. So you can't really make judgment on someone else because you don't know their story.
Exacto.
And so that
Okay.
just, to me, that's just, just knowing that you're
So,
always going to have someone's version is half of the story.
yeah, right. It's only one side. So when we're talking about boundaries, I feel like we can also go into a space of avoiding things that might be good for us to avoid.
Right. So is it a boundary or am I running away or am I putting up a wall so I
Yeah.
don't have to deal with this shit?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you have to know that some people have plenty of walls just to protect themselves, but and then what happens to those people? They end up being in this box full of walls and keeping everybody out. And so,
That's so interesting. When I think of that, I think of someone that can't leave their home, like agoraphobia, where they have, you know, put in boundary after boundary after boundary after boundary. Okay, I'm not going to leave New York City. Actually, I'm not going to leave the West. I'm actually not going to leave Hell's Kitchen. I'm actually not going to leave, my apartment building or my block or my apartment building and then my apartment. It's kind of like, okay, you've just like boxed yourself.
right.
You've
So
placed
that's
so many
rigid. Right.
boundaries where you've boxed yourself into place. There's no expansion there. Like you have nowhere to grow.
Right. Or you have no way of having the support from anyone really because you're keeping them out with all of these rules and rigid boundaries. Because I don't know if I can call them boundaries, right? Because boundaries are set from within to protect you, where walls are more coming from my environment is doing this and I need to run away from
Right.
this, right? So
Yeah.
there's a difference. So I don't call those boundaries, but more like walls. So a boundary is more of a bridge. You want to be in my life, this is the bridge. This is the boundary where you're going to respect my boundaries. You can come through the bridge and I'm going to respect yours and I can go to yours. A wall, a ridge or a rigid boundary, it's a wall you run into or a glass door.
You know it's like if you look at it from either side, right? One
Mhm.
one is extreme avoidance of things, right? Where
Right.
where you're boxing yourself in, and the other side is just like you have no boundaries. Like what? You mean you don't ever say no? You don't ever, you know, decide, okay, I'm gonna do this instead of that, or
Mhm.
I feel like I struggled with having boundaries in my last relationship I would often say no just to say yes at some point. And
Or just to keep the peace.
right. And it was, the cost was detrimental. The
Right,
cost
just to
was
keep
so
right,
astronomical.
just to keep your partner's peace, but not yours. So your cost was
Insane. It was out of this world.
And that goes to the question, whose peace are you protecting when you say yes? And that answer is what, okay, am I choosing me or am I choosing you?
Is there a way to choose both?
Yeah, at times. But
Yeah.
that means there's got to be communication. There's got to be a lot of things. Compromise. And so, yeah, there's a way. There's a way. And flexibility with your partner, no? But I think that it also, the guilt management, managing the guilt that will come from you making a decision and then you're going to feel bad about it. Like, oh, but my dad is so old. I should be there, like,
No.
like, just how do you deal with that, Derek? Can you help us out here, Dr. T?
Well,
guilt management.
I would say it really comes down to having to validate your own decisions, right? Like, you can do all the things, just not all at once, right? Like, I can't on this podcast also be writing, also be driving to Connecticut, also be at CrossFit, also be, I can't do all of the things all at once. I can do this and then I can stop this and do something else. And then I can stop that and do something else. It's the illusion of multitasking. We don't multitask. We just don't. We're not able to appreciate the fact that it's start, stop, start, stop. It's not like you're washing dishes and you're cooking. You're washing a dish and then you're, marinate. You're like checking on the pasta. Yum, pasta. You're not really kind of identifying that it's a start and stop. So if you're having a hard time with the decisions, then being able to validate, actually, I really do have to go to work today and I can't just go to Connecticut to be with my father all day. And and being able to have that be okay and validate it for yourself. And it can't just be that you're going to have to work every single day and not do the other
see
thing,
your dad again.
right? So it's kind of like one of those things of, you have to back up what you're saying and what you're doing and how you're getting to that conclusion. And if you can do that, if you can validate the decision and follow through with the action and look back and say, okay, that I made a great decision given what I had access to, the information that I did when I made the decision. That's all you can do. That's it.
You can also make a decision that going forward, I'm going to spend every birthday with my father and I'm going to block my calendar.
Exactly.
Starting from this, 2027 is blocked already. And so, it just goes to, how do you get to it? Like, what's the plan? And some people need that. Some people need to block the calendar to make dates with their kids or spouses or significant others or parents and whatnot, friends too. And so whatever it is that you need to do it. But don't say, oh, be nice to spend every birthday with my dad and do nothing.
And do nothing.
And there's no action. So
Lip service.
it's always are you just talking, then there's nobody's going to take you seriously. And guess what? Nobody's going to trust you to do things. So when you
Not
like
even
say,
yourself.
yeah,
You're not even going to trust yourself.
yeah. You talked about earlier about time, and I just thought about this, or just came into my voice. I don't know. And it's about how with certain people, certain boundaries, like, some with certain people's, you're not going to talk religion, you're not going to talk politics. You love them. You just know you're not going to waste your energy into talking about something that's not going to go anywhere, right? So, if you talk religion with someone like our Aunt Mercedes, she sees it in one way, and that's the only way, and that's the only way she's going to see it. And so, am I going to talk religion with her? No, no. So, and knowing that, how valuable is your energy to, why am I going to enter a discussion that, and what's the goal of the discussion? Is your discussion to change the other person's mind? Is it the goal to make them view it from a different angle, a different lens? Yeah, okay, sure. But that person has, I don't know, what do you call that view? Tunnel view.
Has made up their mind. Tunnel vision.
Tunnel vision. And so why would you waste your energy there? Talk about the birds, the weather. I don't know, talk about something else with them. So being conscious of protecting your energy, or at least for me, is setting certain boundaries for certain connections. Whether it's family, friends, I know we're never going to agree on this, or, but I respect your point of view and my point of view, right? Respect. I love you the way you are, basically.
Exactly. And it's okay to...
Right. It's okay that you wear your Trump hat. It's okay for you. I'm not going to wear that. So, you know what I mean? Just being able to
But
be.
I feel like all of those things, there's so much that doesn't matter. It just doesn't
matter to you. To me, it doesn't either. But I mean, people's essence matters to me. Like, their vibration stuff. It depends. You know? And so if they're like, I hate all the immigrants, blah, 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 blah. Dude. You know what I mean? Like that energy, that's a vibration.
Makes me feel bad for them.
Right, but that's a vibration. Do you want to be around that? And so you have to make it a point to be like, okay, I can say hi to you, but that's it. Ciao,
right,
bye.
That's where I draw the line.
You draw the line where, like, our energy fields cannot, no.
Can't mess with you.
Yeah, I can't. Hi, bye, stay on your side of the road.
But also it just speaks to not being able to talk to them about much of anything, right? I feel like there are people that I relate to because I'm related to them, and that's why we relate. But that doesn't mean we have anything in common other than the fact that we share DNA.
Correct.
And then, that keeps it to a certain level, which doesn't mean that I don't love them anymore.
Exactly.
Less, it's just we don't have anything in common to relate on.
Mm-hmm.
But the boundaries that are basically upholding you have to make sense and have to be spoken, and have to, when they need to be expressed, and when they don't need to be expressed, also don't. Hey, I can't fuck with you, so I'm just gonna say hi from over here. Like, that's so not necessary.
Right, you don't have to explain everything to everyone. You don't need to explain how you're protecting your energy, but you acknowledge and you respect and you love yourself. Because basically, what that is, choosing yourself, it's not that it's not an ego thing, but it's more self love, right? So it's like, to me, it's the highest form of love, of choosing you first. Because if you don't choose you, then.
Right. It's valuing.
Mm-hmm.
You're valuing
Right.
yourself.
And so to me, that's the highest form of love, is to think of you first. How am I going to show up for this? What is that doing to my time? Is it worth it? Is this going to break my peace or not? Oh, I have a good example. Huh.
Yeah.
This is a great one, and it just happened. So I went now with my amazing friend Jesus.
Jesus.
With Jesus and Eden and Talita, we went to see a Peruvian group here at the drum in New York. Here, over
Here.
there, over there
Here,
in New
there,
York.
everywhere.
And we went to the drum, and afterwards we were talking. Me and him, we were going to the train station because I took the train. It was it a Friday night? Yeah, it was a Friday night. And we started talking about, somehow it came up to the conversation that, so he's divorced and he's done paying alimony. He's done with all of that. And it wasn't like a great divorce. It took a while, and, financially he was supporting her for a while, and it's done. Now, he is in a relationship, going to get married now.
I had no
And
idea. Okay.
yeah, he's engaged.
Yay.
Yay. Wedding in Hawaii. Anyway, she is sometimes contacting him for financial help because she can't afford where she currently lives in New York. And I say, whoa. And he's a super nice guy, right? And I'm like, Jesus, how do you feel? Jesus, how do you feel when the minute you receive that message, she needs the help, and how often is this happening? So he's like, a couple of times a year. And then I came up with this amount, and I was on the money with the amount.
Nice.
And it's not a small amount, but that's irrelevant, right? And I'm like, okay, how do you feel when you receive that text? And he's like, where do you feel it? Like, how do you feel? Like, he's just like, it makes him sick. Like
Rough.
it's a weight on him, right? Like, here we go again. Oh my God, how much is it now? Blah, blah, blah. All of these things. And I'm like, you're a really nice guy.
That's on you, bro.
But
how you feel is on you.
But this is affecting you, on a health level as well. So eventually you're going to have, what do you call it? I call, one day you're going to have an ulcer call. And I call it, when you go to the doctor, he's like, oh, you have an ulcer. Her name is this.
Nice.
And so is that worth it? Is it worth how you feeling? Is it worth how you have to communicate that to your current partner? And how does your current partner feel about that?
Yeah, that sounds insane.
And so it's time to cut the it's over, right? So he's asking for advice, so I gave it, and I'm like, send her a no more. And this is, because I know you care, and she thinks that the minute she needs it, you're gonna be there, and it's there. So you're the ATM.
Right.
She doesn't even give you advance notice and whatnot, right? So she needs it now. Okay. And you're there to give it to her. And this has happened, I don't know how many, a couple of years.
Don't be Captain Save-A-Hole.
And so I'm like, it's time to send her a note saying, do not contact me again. If you want to give her that courtesy, because me, I would just block her and it's over, right? Next time she sends a no,
Move on.
right?
Nothing to see.
But and so how are you feeling when you're having this, when your body's gonna tell you first? When you're saying yes to something, where do you feel that? Something that you don't want to subscribe to, but you are subscribing because you feel bad because, oh my God, what is going to happen? And so where do you feel it? Where do you feel that in your body? And come on,
Come on.
you know that it's time.
Okay, and it is time.
Oh yeah, look at that. On this note,
Yeah, so this is what we have for you today, the boundaries, and we hope you'll be back next week.
with your permission.
And that is all we have for you this week.
Make sure you follow Permission to Podcast.
And we'll be back next week
With
with your permission.